Welcome to 12-Minute Talks, where important information is shared in a short time period. Learn from other business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts about what they do to help you find solutions to everyday topics in 12 minutes or less. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I'm super excited to have with us today Chelsea Haines from
Mhm,
Chelsea Haines Coaching. She's a
mhm,
gut health and life coach that she helps highly functioning overachievers
mhm,
heal their gut to obliterate symptoms of bloat and overwhelm and to
mhm.
finally start feeling on fire again. Chelsea, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really appreciative to be here, Lorena. Thanks.
Awesome. So I think this is going to be an interesting episode for many people out there, and a lot of people are overachievers, which is good and bad, I guess, depending on everything else going on. Um,
Mhm.
but before we get into how you help others, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how you got started in this industry?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for asking that. I always like to say we're most of us on this path of coaching or entrepreneurship have evolved into what we're doing now. And usually it's a combination of a personal story along with opportunity and ambition. So, my personal story started with autoimmune disease and seeking healing alternatively or kind of east meets west. I always knew that there was a root cause to my symptoms, and I wasn't happy with dermatologists just sort of shunning me out the door and sending me with prescriptions that weren't helping me. So yeah, that was sort of like my personal healing journey, and then from there it's become an amazing journey of self-development, healing, and divorce, becoming a yacht stew, traveling the world, teaching yoga full time, which then eventually evolved into being a digital nomad and teaching other people how to heal themselves, really, from the outside in and from the inside out.
Yeah, I think being a digital nomad has become even more popular now,
Yeah.
right? People are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I can work from my house." I'm like, "Yes, you could do that before, but okay."
Yeah, it's actually
Um,
really out well for me.
yeah, awesome, awesome. It certainly fits your lifestyle. Um,
Mhm,
and so that's interesting. I mean, you had some health issues yourself, and then you figured it out that it was
mhm,
maybe what you were eating.
mhm.
Can you give us a story of like a client that you recently helped with your gut and life coaching?
Yeah, of course. So I've been working with clients now for almost 3 years. I mean, the testimonies and stories from the women that I work with are truly incredible. And I think Lorena, as passionate entrepreneurs here to serve and to help people, there's always a little bit of that feeling of, "Ooh, am I doing the right thing?" Is what I'm doing actually helping people? And there's nothing better or no better feedback than when someone comes to me at the end of either my 4-week program or at the end of my 6-month mentorship saying, I really feel on fire again. I feel like myself again. I feel like I've remembered who I am, that person that I forgot so many years ago, whether it was trauma or childbirth or a change of scenery or a new job or something that kind of just flipped our world upside down. Or maybe it wasn't even something that dramatic. Maybe it was just the monotony of life that sort of as adults eventually caught up to us. And recently I had a client, I almost get emotional. She started in my 4-week program, my gut health reset, and then from there opted in for the 6-month mentorship. And we ended up working together for over a year. And just recently, she graduated from my programs. And I always say it's such bittersweet when a client graduates from my programs, because as much as I hate to see them go, I'm so proud, and I love to see them like dance off into the sunset. And part of her healing journey was reconnecting to her vulnerable and emotional side. And she would always say to me, "Oh, Chelsea, you've done it again. I have water falling down my face." And on our last call, she just, we both just had a moment where water was falling down our faces, and she was experiencing joy and pleasure again in her life in a way that she hadn't experienced in many, many years. And not only was she not afraid to eat a variety of foods anymore because she had been once really, really restricted because of all of these physical symptoms that she was experiencing in her body. But now she also had the energy to be able to play and keep up with her teenage daughter and her 4-year-old son. And that's quite an age difference. So for her, life had become sort of this really stressful thing. And she also is a very, very intelligent scientist and a professor at a university. And it was a lot of different aspects in her life. And she just said to me, I feel like myself again. I feel like I have, broken through the cages of life that I had put myself in. I'm experiencing joy and pleasure in food and in play and in my career, which I knew I loved when I first got into it, but 15 years later I kind of forgot that I loved it. So, yeah, that's one example of just many where seeing somebody really tap back into their most divine, highest, and aligned selves is so possible. And, it's always a combination of emotional, spiritual, mental work combined with the physical healing that is sort of necessary. It's definitely a two-lane approach.
Definitely. And that's a great story. It helps really visualize how you've been able to transform someone's
Yeah.
life by maybe just asking the right questions and having them tap into, a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
And so, Chelsea, what would you say is the relationship between someone's gut health and
Mm.
like some aspect of their life?
Oh, everything, Lorraine. And I love what you said there, just to touch on that. Yes, I am not a guru. I am not I'm no one special, but I do have tools and knowledge and experience and education that I love to share. But ultimately, what I do is really help my clients realign to what they already know to be true within themselves and really tap back into that intuitive knowing. So to answer that, your second question directly, the state of our gut health really affects everything else. And science is finally catching up with antiquity when Hippocrates that said that all disease begins in the gut, right? We're finally starting to see studies that show that over 95% of our serotonin is actually produced in our GI tract and not at all in our brain. So when we consider the gut brain axis, we're really meaning the state of our mental health, the state of our central nervous system is so directly affected to inflammation that is possibly in our gut lining, or a weakened digestive tract. And my sort of quote that I like to say is to trust your gut and digest your life. I mean, if we're not physically digesting our food, and what I mean by digestion is to absorb nutrients and to eliminate toxins, if we're unable to do that with the vital nutrients of our life, it will be much more challenging to digest our life experiences and traumas. And you know every moment in life, no matter where it was on the spectrum of trauma, there is always some nugget of wisdom to absorb, or nutrient or lesson to absorb from that. And there's probably a lot of toxicity to release and to heal from and to let go. So it's a very intertwined, interconnected dynamic. Our emotional well-being, our mental well-being, and our physical well-being. And it's so much more than I don't know. I'm tempted to say, like, it's so much more than just like a woo-woo concept of, meditate and all will be fine. No, there's really science and psychology backing the connection between the state of our gut and the state of how we relate to the world, well, how we relate to ourselves and the world around us.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like how people say that when they're stressed, they stress eat, right? So
Yeah.
definitely, I could definitely see the not that I stress eat, but I'm just saying I could see the correlation that you're saying between gut
Yeah.
and other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And so, Chelsea, do you offer like group coaching? Is it one-on-one? Is it like a video? There's many ways, I guess, of disseminating the
Yeah.
information. So what's your preferred method?
Yeah, so I just really quick to I just want to touch on that real quick about what you said about stress eating. So, just because I think it's really important to acknowledge our relationship with food, and first and foremost, there's no shame. There's no shame, and all of us deal with stress in different ways. And one of the main paradigms that I operate on is to begin to shift into curiosity rather than judgment about ourselves and about each other. And that's how we start to become aware of, when I am stressed, do I turn to food, and how does that affect my overall well being? Listen, food is a really great answer for stress. It is grounding in the body, it is nourishing for the soul, it is an opportunity to get out of our head and to get into our body. So food is a really fantastic tool when you're feeling really stressed. And on the flip side, if you're feeling really stressed, it'll be really hard to physically digest that food, because when you're in fight or flight, digestion shuts down. So that's when the mindfulness can really come into play and say, man, is this helping me or serving me, or what is it giving me, and how would I like to move forward from there? So I feel like that's really important for anybody listening. And to answer your question, I have a couple different options. So I do have a self-guided gut health reset program. This is 4 weeks long, and it does combine both video modules, an ebook that I've created that includes a self prompting journal. So there's a huge mindfulness aspect to this healing protocol, as well as access to my group coaching program during the 4 weeks. So it's kind of a hybrid of self-guided with support. You'll notice about me, I'm really passionate about helping people with the transformation of, from point A, this experience, to point Z, a different experience. And that support along the way is really foundational to my core beliefs. So that's one offering that I have. I also work with women one on one. So I have a 6 month mentorship that is really high touch point, where we get on a call, Zoom call bi weekly over the course of 6 months. We do a GI map test with a naturopathic doctor. We go through my gut health reset protocol. And we also dive into a lot of the emotional and spiritual work too. We do some inner child healing. We really look at, again, what are the paradigms that our programming from childhood has trickled down into our beliefs and our thoughts, which of course drive our emotions, which drive our habits. And to reverse engineer our habits, we have to start digging a little bit deeper. So that's for someone who might be a little bit more like ready and excited to like dive into the deep end. And I always like to say, I dive into the deep end with you, and we hang around in the mud and we wrestle around there together, and we crawl out when you're ready. So it's a little bit different than just kind of pulling somebody out, because that doesn't really work long term for sustainability. That's more of like a diet mentality.
Of course.
um yeah, and I also do have a group coaching program that I've launched recently as well, that's separate from those two things.
Okay, fantastic. And like in all of this, we'll have your Instagram. I believe you told me at the
Yes,
Chelsea Haines. Is there
you
anywhere
got.
else you want people to follow you or connect with you? They would like more information.
Sure. So my website is a great place to start, chelseahainescoaching.com. You can connect with me directly there. You can schedule a 20-minute chat with me if you have some questions right through there. You can also DM me directly on Instagram, like you mentioned, Loretta, at the Chelsea Haines. And then I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So I share a lot of free knowledge and information and gut healing content and actionable steps, both on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I do have a podcast as well that I've paused recording at the moment, but you can always go back. It's called Let's Start Health. There's a lot of information that I love to share for anyone who's maybe just starting the journey to gut healing, or just interested in learning about self development.
Fantastic. And like always, we'll have all of the links down below in the description. And throughout the whole video, if you're watching the video, you'll see her Instagram handle there. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you that don't know who I am. My name's Lorena Tomasini, and I'm the owner of Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency, where we help families and business owners with their financial protection needs. Um, here you go. Chelsea, it's been great having you today on the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I think it's going to help a lot of people maybe ask themselves, hey, should I be eating this? Why am I eating this? And, you know,
Yeah.
what might that have to do with whatever is going on in their lives? Or, like you mentioned, maybe something from their past, their childhood,
Yeah.
or something like that. Is there anything else you would like to add?
That's it. I'm super grateful to be here today, and I hope to be able to connect with anyone who comes across this podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to this podcast and hope you will listen to the next one. I'm Lorena Tomasini, and you can contact me via email life@malmins.com. Make it a great day.